Thank you for joining me. This will be my first YouTube video where I will have a significant amount of my voice being recorded. This is completely outside of my comfort zone, so I greatly appreciate you joining me on this adventure. I'm calling this How Not to Learn C# the Wrong Way because I have no professional training whatsoever, and more importantly, my experience level is not sufficient enough to be a teacher. I am producing this content, then, to help me explore my learning adventure, and if YouTube has taught me anything, the comments section can be a phenomenal place to learn. The goal of this application is to generate a deck of playing cards. C# is an object-oriented programming language. When I first started learning C#, that sounded like buzzwords. It didn't make sense. How objects are created and defined can be confusing, further exasperated by a language that has too many acronyms, and worse, different names for the same things. After a few hundred hours of following YouTube tutorials, trial and error, I'm finally starting to grasp that I can think about these details physically. A deck of cards is 52 playing cards. A playing card is a slip of card paper denominated with a suit and face value. Thus, a class is a description of a physical object. You could imagine the class as being the card paper that the playing card is manufactured from. The suit and face values are the properties that need to be printed on each card. I'm going to start by making the lists of suits and face values. I will use enums for this purpose, as they are effectively a numbered list. This will be useful in the future when I want to extract a number value from the card. I have already started a new C# console application in Visual Studio 2022, and I'm using the .NET 6 framework. Adding a new class, I'll call it suit. I'll change this to an enum, and I will list the suits: clubs, diamonds, hearts, and spades. I'll save it and close it. I'll add another new class and call this face value. And I will change this to enum. And now I will list the face values. 3, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Jack, Queen, and the King. I'll save this, and I will also close it. Now that I have the lists of suits and face values, I can go about creating the card. So I will add a new class and call it card. The card is a public class because it's going to represent multiple cards, and I need to create the properties. So the first property will be a public suit, because that's what it's called. Add the getter and setter, public face value, and I will use tab with IntelliSense there to fill the rest of that out. Now I want the name, public string name, and I'm going to define my own getter here and return a string interpolation of the face value of suit. Now I need a constructor, so I'll go CTOR, tab gives me a blank constructor, but because I will never have an empty card, I want to pass in the face value and the suit when making a new instance of the card. I can save the card, and now I can close it. Now I can go about creating the deck, which is add new class deck. This will be a public static class deck because the deck will never change. It's always going to have 52 playing cards. I'm going to use a method to generate the deck. So this will be a public static card array generate new deck. We will not pass any properties into it. Now, because I want to create an array of cards, but I have to iterate through my enums, I'm going to use a list to generate the array, because lists I find are easier to handle in loops. And now I can add a loop to go through the suits in the enum I made earlier of suit. And I can also loop through the face values in the enum face value type of face value. Put enough parentheses there. And now I can add new cards to the list. New card, and pass in the suit and the face value. Face value. Satisfy the constructor for the new card. And now I can return the list of cards, but send it to array. I'm now done with the deck, and I can close the deck. Now, in order to access the deck, I need a using statement, using deck of cards. And now I can iterate through the cards that I just created. Card, in deck dot generate new deck. CW tab card dot name. And I also want to write out how many cards there are. So I'll use string interpolation for that. There are deck dot generate new deck count cards in this deck. Save this and I'll run it. I can see here there are 52 cards in this deck, and I can see every card being listed out on the console. This is as good a place as any to stop this video. I appreciate you joining me. If you would like to see more of this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you kindly.